Hey everyone, Will, just in time prepping. How you guys doing? Hey, my beard's getting to look pretty shaggy, huh? Hey, we're gonna do that series starting today. Remember I told you we're gonna start it? I usually do it right here. Let me try to get that in the picture. I usually do all my stuff right here, but this is my series table slash leatherworking. The leatherworking has taken over, so I'm going to be a little more casual today, and we're going to do it in a stand-up position. I really hope it turns out okay for you guys, but no guarantees. So today, I'm going to talk to you about the new series coming up. It should be a 3 or 4 parter, so just stay tuned. I'll be right back, okay? Okay, back. It's Will, just in time. So the issue that we're going to talk about for the next few days is climate change or climate warming. It's not a very popular topic by a lot of people, but it just needs to be talked about. It kind of goes hand in hand with prepping and SHTF scenarios, stuff like that. And it was as early as 2017, the Earth had warmed up by roughly 2 degrees Fahrenheit, or 1 degree Celsius. And since 1880, the records have began to be measured at a global scale. That figure includes the surface of the ocean, and the warming is greater over land and greater still in the Arctic parts of the world. So the number may sound low to you guys, but we experience much larger temperature swings in our day-to-day lives. It's from weather systems or the changing of the weather seasons, or even an average across the entire planet over months or maybe even years. The temperature differences get far smaller. The variation of the surface of the Earth from one year to the next is measured in fractions of a degree. So a rise of 2 degrees Fahrenheit since the 19th century is actually high. It's kind of hard to explain all this to people. Some folks simply just want to ignore it, or it's like our government right now, they don't really believe in climate change. The substantial warming that has already occurred explains why much of the world's land ice is starting to melt. The oceans are rising and at an accelerated pace. The heat accumulation in the Earth because of the human emissions is roughly equal to the heat that would be released by 400,000 Hiroshima, that's a big word, hard word, atomic bombs exploding across the planet every day. Now that's pretty scary right there, isn't it? The scientists believe that most and probably all of the warming since 1950 was caused by human release of greenhouse gases. Now, if emissions continue unchecked, they say the global warming could ultimately exceed 8 degrees, which would transform the planet and undermine its capacity to support a large human population, which means it would probably get so warm that people would start dying off, you know. It's just amazing when you start reading up on this stuff, just how much it affects our day-to-day lives. How much trouble are we in? The risks are much greater over the long run than over for the next few decades. But the emissions that create those risks are happening now. Now, you know, you may not care right now, you know. There's people out there that don't care. I care. I care about my children's future, my children's future. I mean, I could say, oh, baloney, you know, I don't really believe in that stuff. But the records show that, excuse me, the warmth or the climate change is rising over every year, so it's not gonna, may not be in our lifetime. It may not even be in our children's lifetime, but it might be in our children's lifetime. That really scares me, that's, you guys say, oh, well, well, we're talking about our kids. You don't care about your kids, huh? That really irks me, So this means the current generation of people is dooming future generations to a more difficult future. That is pretty darn right there in the ballpark, I just don't understand why people can say, oh, well, when it's going to affect their family in generations to come. So how difficult? Over the coming 25 or 30 years, scientists say the climate is likely to resemble that of today, although gradually getting warmer year by year, with more of an extreme heat waves and that will be able to kill vulnerable people, probably like myself, people with COPD or illnesses that are affected by the heat. If you have watched the news lately, right now, the world is in a heat wave. The whole our whole globe is in a heat wave. I know right here where I live, it's in the hundreds. I mean, it's usually not that hot here by now, but this year, it's in the hundreds. It's not just here, it's the whole world is experiencing this. So, excuse me. Although gradually getting warmer with more and extreme heat waves that can kill vulnerable people, rainfall will diminish. So the periods between the rains will most likely grow hotter and drier, which means we'll have hotter temperatures and less rain. The number of hurricanes and typhoons may actually fall, but the ones that do occur will draw energy from the hot ocean surface and therefore be more intense. Coastal flooding will grow more frequent and damaging, and is already happening to our farmland and whatnot. Longer term, if emissions continue to rise unchecked, the risks are going to be profound. Scientists fear climate effects are so severe that they might destabilize our governments. That's kind of disheartening, isn't it? Because our government is telling us that there is no such thing as climate change or anything climate problems, they're just saying that the world goes on. That's not really true. The human race is actually making the planet warm up through the use of greenhouse gases. So scientists fear climate effects so severe that they might destabilize governments, produce waves of refugees, precipitate the sixth mass extinction of plants and animals, and in the Earth's history, and melt the polar ice caps, causing the seas to rise high enough to flood most of the world's coastal cities. So, if you live on the coast, the ice caps start melting, the water starts rising. Guess what? Not really trying to make a joke, but it is. You may be living in a future lake. All of this could take hundreds or even thousands of years, and they tell us that every day, the government does, to play out. But experts, they cannot rule out an abrupt change. Such a collapse of agriculture that would throw civilization into chaos much sooner. Bolder efforts to limit emissions would reduce these risks, or at least slow the effects down, but it is already too late to eliminate the entire risk. So, is there anything that we can do about climate change? Sure. Fly less, drive less, waste less. You can reduce your own carbon footprint in lots of simple ways, and most of them will save you money at the same time. You can plug leaks in your insulation in your homes to save power. You can install smart thermostats, switch to more efficient light bulbs, turn off the lights in any room that you're not using, drive fewer miles, consolidate your trips, or take a public transit system, waste less food, and eat less meat. Perhaps the biggest single thing individuals can do on their own is to take fewer airplane trips. Just 1 or 2 fewer plane rides per year can save as much in emissions as all the other actions combined. If you want to be on the cutting edge, you can look at buying an electric hybrid car, putting up solar panels, or both. Now, some cities are going to solar power. Like the city I live in is a small city. It's a population of about 15,000. But our local utility company has solar panels all across the back of their lot where we pay our bills. So we are actually running on solar heat here. It lowers our bill in the long run, but in the beginning when they started doing it, our bills were high, and that was to pay for the solar panels and getting everything up online. Okay, so if you want to offset your emissions, you can buy certificates with money going to protect certain projects. And that will protect our forest, capture greenhouse gases, and so forth. Some airlines sell these offset emissions from their flights, and you can also buy offset certificates in the private marketplace from companies such as TerraPass, and some people even give these as holiday gifts in some states that allow you to do that. Especially from your electricity provider. You can often elect to buy green electricity. You pay slightly more, like I was saying, and the money goes into a fund, and that helps finance projects such as wind farms. Outside our city, if you go out a few miles south and even a few miles north, you'll see all those windmills, and they have a lot of them here generating energy. Lending companies are also starting to demand clean energy for their operations. You can pay attention to company policies, patronize the leaders, and let the others know that you expect them to do better. It's up to us to make them do it. So in the end, experts do not believe that there's a needed transformation in the energy system that can happen without strong state and national policies, which means that we as a consumer must push our government to work towards a greener end. So speaking up and exercising your rights as citizens matter as much as anything. It's what we do, it's up to us to push back and make things change. Okay, what's an optimistic case? In the best case that scientists can imagine, several things can happen. Earth turns out to be less sensitive to greenhouse gases than currently believed. Plants and animals manage to adapt to the changes that have already become inevitable. Human society already develops much greater political will to bring emissions under control, and that's where I was telling you that we need to push back against the government and to adjust to climate change. Some technological breakthroughs are already making cleaner energy more attractive. In the United States, for instance, coal has been losing out to natural gas as a power source, as new drilling technology has made gas more expensive. So an abundant natural gas is more abundant and is actually cheaper. So for a given amount of power, gas cuts emissions in half. In addition, the cost of the wind and solar power has declined so much that they are now the cheapest power source in a few places, even without any subsidies. And that's pretty amazing that we can get the whole world working together to bring the cost of all these things down so that we can afford it and work on our global climate change of the warming. Unfortunately, scientists and energy experts say that the odds of all these things breaking our way are not very high. The Earth could just as easily turn out to be more sensitive to the greenhouse gases, as less global warming seems to be causing chaos in parts of the natural world already. And that seems likely to get worse, not better. So in the view of the experts, simply banking on rosy assumptions without any real plan would be dangerous. They believe the only way to limit the risks is to limit the emissions. Is that a lot to digest, isn't it? I'm going to stop it there for today. I got my 15 minutes in, and that's a lot of information that we covered. Tomorrow, I'm going to tell you how eating less meat can be better for you to control climate change. So I look forward to talking to you guys about that. It took me back, but you'll see when I tell you about it tomorrow. Okay, today is Monday. I'll be doing another part of the series tomorrow. But on Wednesday we'll have the live stream, so we'll kind of mellow out a little bit, and we'll have a day just to sit around and have some fun and talk and discuss whatever we decide to pop up. But then back on Thursday we'll be back to the grind of trying to finish up this series so that we can go on to the next part. Okay, so that's all I really have for you for today. I hope I told you in a slow enough pace to get you to understand some of what is happening with climate change, and that there's a lot that we can still do to make it better. All we have to do is to push back and to educate more and more people until the governments have no choice but to do what it takes to get the job done. So, as usual, you guys know I can't do any of it without you. And you know it's God bless you, and God bless me, and God bless the US of A. Now, before I go, don't forget that I am going to be having a subscriber giveaway. And it's not that you have to do a VR or even say that you're in. Simply do what we all have to do to keep the community going and keeping it happy by supporting each other's channels. I'll be watching the whole community, not just my community, but all the communities, and I'll be picking one person to get a gift for doing some good work for the YouTube community. So with that, I'll let you guys go. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday, and I will see you on Tuesday. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.